The Georgia Guidestones are, or I guess were, a strange and mysterious monument set up in a small little town called Elberton, Georgia, by an unknown man representing an unnamed group, which consisted of 10 commandments in 8 different languages, the first of which said to reduce the world's population down to 500 million people, which is an over 90% reduction. Many consider them to be the 10 commandments of the New World Order, one of which says that humans are basically a cancer on the earth. So early Wednesday morning, about 4 a.m., someone took it upon themselves to get rid of the Guidestones.
We continue to follow breaking news out of Northeast Georgia, where we just learned there's been an explosion at Georgia Guidestones. New video just in shows damage to the Guidestones in Elberton County. The GBI and local officials are investigating this explosion. They say someone detonated an explosive device around 4 a.m. The Guidestones are located on Highway 77 in Elberton.
If you joined us at 4 o'clock, you would have actually seen part of that monument still erected. Within that past hour, crews brought in equipment and they've knocked the remaining portion of it down. You're taking a live look here as they're working through this.
Recently, Candace Taylor, who was running for governor of Georgia, made it a campaign promise that if she won, she would have taken down the Guidestones.
If we don't call things out and we don't acknowledge them and we don't take authority and take dominion over what God's given us, then we are no better than the evil ones that put it up. We've watched as people have destroyed our history and monuments, and in their place, they have erected statues to their own gods. The New World Order is here, and they told us it was coming. It's a battle far greater than what we see in the natural. It is a war between good and evil.
Of course, the usual suspects are upset that the Guidestones are now history, but maybe we should turn to the self-proclaimed moral leaders of America to see what they have to say about people removing monuments that they don't like by taking things into their own hands. Here's Nasty Pelosi when she was asked for comments about all of those Democrats vandalizing and tearing down the Confederate monuments across the country not long ago.
If the community doesn't want the statue there, the statue shouldn't be there. I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do. I do think that from a safety standpoint, it would be a good idea to have it taken down if the community doesn't want it.
It was unsafe, I'll agree with that. I thought by now one of the locals would have used their tractors to pull it down, but apparently some people had some other ideas.
Also new tonight, we have our first look at the explosion at the Georgia Guidestones. The GBI just releasing this video hours ago, and you can see there is a bright flash and then part of the structure explodes. The Guidestones are in Elbert County and were built back in 1979, but no one knows who put them up.
To be clear, I don't condone what this person or persons did to remove the stones or pulling them over with a tractor, but being way ahead of my time, back in 2005, 17 years ago, I made the local paper in Elberton, Georgia, where the Guidestones were located, calling for their removal. Legally, of course, through the proper channels, when I released my first book, The Resistance Manifesto. Back then, the resistance meant opposing the New World Order, and of course in 2016, after Trump beat Hillary Clinton, the Democrats hijacked the term, calling themselves the resistance, thus essentially ruining it. Back in 2009, a producer from Stephen Colbert's Colbert Report on Comedy Central called me and wanted to book me for the show to interview me about the Guidestones, because of course globalists love them, and of course I declined because I don't talk to fake news unless it's live on the air and unedited. Recently, the self-proclaimed comedian John Oliver did an entire segment on his HBO show about the Georgia Guidestones because, of course, he loves them too.
Instinctively, I'm tempted to defend the Guidestones and point out that a far more common interpretation is that they are directions for rebuilding civilization after an apocalypse.
I'm sure you know that many on the left want to massively reduce the world's population in order to supposedly help fight climate change and reduce humanity's carbon footprint. Reducing the world's population by over 90% is also one of the primary goals of transhumanism, because the transhumanists believe that they, the elite, are going to evolve into immortal gods using technology and their cybernetic interfaces and biotech. And if they're going to live for hundreds of years or eternally as these immortal cybernetic beings, as they hope, with their arrogance, then they want to reduce the Earth's population to preserve the natural resources for them. Here's top transhumanist Dr. Yuval Harari worried about what's going to happen to us little people once the robot revolution kicks off and artificial intelligence takes over.
In the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, what humanity basically learned to produce was all kinds of stuff, like textiles and shoes and weapons and vehicles. And this was enough for very few countries that underwent the revolution fast enough to subjugate everybody else. And this time, if you're not part of the revolution fast enough, then you probably become extinct. Once you know how to produce bodies and brains and minds, so cheap labor in Africa or South Asia or wherever, it simply counts for nothing. Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food to feed everybody. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless.
Some of you may remember Dr. Eric Pianka, who gave a speech back in 2006 saying that he hoped that a deadly virus would wipe out the vast majority of the human population, and it created such concern that the FBI investigated him to make sure that he wasn't preparing to do something like that. There's a lot of information about the Georgia Guidestones that most people don't know. The man who commissioned them to be built, R.C. Christian, an admitted pseudonym, also published a book shortly after they were finished and sent copies to every member of Congress and opinion leaders detailing his plans for the New World Order. I was able to get a copy probably 18 years ago, and I just checked on Amazon and even eBay, and there's not a single copy listed. It's extremely rare. But in the book, he talks about transhumanism and how he wants to warm the hearts of humanity to global rule. But as you know, the left calls people who disagree with their plans conspiracy theorists, hoping to silence them and get them out of the way so that they can finish the job. If you read some of my old books like Inside the Illuminati, then you would know all about the Georgia Guidestones. So if you haven't, be sure to pick them up in paperback from Amazon.com. And I've extended my 4th of July sale from MarkDice.com through the weekend, so save 20% off of any of my shirts by using the promo code FREEDOM at the checkout. So order your Ultra Mega shirt, my new climate change shirt, which shows how the climate changes each season, the classic Liberalism Find a Cure shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to MarkDice.com or click the link in the description below, enter the promo code FREEDOM at the checkout to save 20% this week, and check them out.